Welcome back to All Walkered Up. I am Ben, and this is the Great Scotch Exchange 2022. This is our third gathering. I'm joined again by Chad. Chad, welcome.
Hello.
Tonight we venture into Islay. I am super stoked about tonight. I love me some peated Scotch. And the
hmm
Scotches we have tonight are definitely peated. So we've got the uh, wonderful Laphroaig 10. This is a readily available Scotch. It's easy to find. And then we've got the mystery Scotch, which we're not going to talk about what it is until a little bit later, I think. You and I both know what it is. Unfortunately, I got you all of the bottles of the Scotch before I decided to add this one in, so you had to go buy a whole bottle of this one, but I don't think you're complaining
Darn.
about that, do you? So I am super stoked and excited for this. I do have to give um, the donor of the Laphroaig 10 a little bit of a hard time here and there because he didn't read the email about the being about $100 bottle of Scotch. It's a little less than that, not a ton, but I do have
It's
it for
still
him.
really good though, so
It's
it's
so
okay.
good, and I can't complain. And it did offer me the opportunity to compare these two side by side,
Yep.
which is really cool, and I'm really excited about. So, any thoughts on Isla before we jump in?
Um, they're just peaty goodness. When you're in the mood for something heavy that like you want to take a sip and just live in it for a while. Like that's what Islas are about. Like, yeah, it's
Yep,
this. They're just just doing it and just enjoy.
it's I I've never met a peaty Scotch I didn't like.
Yep.
I haven't met any real Scotches that I didn't like, but definitely never met a peaty Scotch I didn't like. So
Right.
I'm excited. So I'm going in
So
for a nose on this Laphroaig 10.
Lafroig.
Um, no, we're really bad about looking at the color before we start nosing it. But this one's kind of that amber straw. More
Yeah.
amber than straw.
Very amber. Yep. Caramel amber.
Oh man,
Mm.
for how many times I've had this Scotch, every time I go back to it, I just like to live in the nose. Like you said, just be there with the Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's peaty. Peat is the predominant nose in the face.
There is, but it's
There's
also but it's also cedar, like the live green cedar
mm-hmm. Yep, I can get
bough.
that.
A little bit of mint, and that lovely fresh leather smell.
Yes, it's definitely fresh leather smell.
That's like one of my favorite Scottish like tones is that fresh leather. I don't know
Like
why. It just
it's like walking down the aisle at the fair, past the guys brewing up the barbecue, and then there's a leather shop from God knows where.
exactly. There's the
And
dude that does the belts and wallets and stuff like that right there. Yep,
yep, that is
exactly.
exactly what that is. There's
Yep.
a subtle sweetness to it as well. We were just talking about apples in the last week's episode,
Right.
so it's probably what's jumping in my mind. But it's not apple. It's some kind of a subtle.
See, and the mint I get is a sweeter mint. It's the spearmint kind.
It could be the mint too, because it's definitely right there. But oh
Maybe a little bit of pear
man, pear was one of the ones that jumped in my mind early, but
because
I kind of
it's
dismissed it with the mint. But
it's not the tart green apple or a juicy red apple. It's lighter. Mm. God,
live in
I
that all day.
just sit there and
It's
live in that for.
the smokiness is like barbecued pork to me,
Okay,
specifically pork, not anything else, not burgers,
yeah,
not hot dogs.
like a pork belly or something,
Yeah,
kind of. Yep.
I mean Laphroaig, the peatiness on it is often referred to as like an ashtray peatiness, but
hmm
I never really get the ashtray note.
No.
Mm, yum.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be living
Mystery
that all day.
Scotch.
But mystery Scotch,
Okay.
a little bit of water though.
So this
And
one
the color is so different.
is very straw,
Yep.
like very golden, very light.
So light. And these are both 10-year.
Yeah.
I have to unplug my fridge. I forget that it kicks on. I've actually been pretty good about unplugging it before we do these, but I forgot to plug it back in last week
Oh no.
for like 2 days, and I went to grab a beer, and I was like, "This is like cool, but not cold."
At
Crap.
least it wasn't lukewarm.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's a little bit hotter on the nose as far as like you get more of the alcohol-y.
Mm-hmm.
It's lighter with the peat and it's sweeter.
It is very sweeter. I'm getting more of a strong mint on this one.
Yeah, I would go with that. Hmm.
Hmm.
It's definitely got more subtlety than the Laphroaig.
Hmm. There's a see that was so much less peaty than I thought it was going to be
Yep.
because again I know what it is, but oh man,
It's so much lighter compared to Laphroaig.
oh yeah, lighter in the way it approaches the nose, the color.
Yeah.
It is a higher proof, which might be
Okay.
the stronger kick
More
we're getting.
alcohol-y
Yeah, and it's
feel.
definitely got more oiliness clinging to the glass.
Yep.
I almost get a melon, like
Yep. I was
mus
there's
like a
something there,
muskmelon.
and that's what I was going for.
Oh man,
Yeah. Mm. Okay.
I want to try these.
Yep. All
Diving
right.
in.
Okay. So, Laphroaig.
Laphroaig.
Oh, cheers.
Mm, that like almost dirty smokiness to it
Hmm.
right off the tip.
It's like sitting by a campfire.
Mm-hmm. 100%. It's
In the UP, like, so you're surrounded by cedars.
yeah, like there's no like earthy dirtness to it. It's more of the rock and the cedars in the
Hmm.
UP. That's a
Hmm.
great picture.
It's that rocky cedar area, and you're sitting by a campfire, huddled up against the wind,
Yep.
piping off of Lake Superior.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That first sip, even that first sip knocks the smokiness off the nose.
Okay, it does. Brings out more of the mint.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. But yeah, being wrapped up in a wool shirt, like, oh, that's what.
Wearing your Stormy Cromer.
Yeah, it's just that's what that is right there. Like, um, fall ferns. You know that
Oh yeah.
smell they give off.
Yep. It's definitely a
Um,
very fall. I mean, it's fitting. No, we finally have
just that
snow.
earthiness that they give off, that earthy aroma that the ferns give off in the not when they're like when they give that real pungent kind of dying, rotting smell that ferns give, but like just before that, on
Uh-huh.
those first couple crisp fall days like that. Yeah.
Love that scotch.
Okay. First sip. Mystery Scotch.
I love that Scotch too.
Mm, that's really good too. Um, it's not as deep.
It's
The
wide. It's much more full palate for me.
Yeah, but it's lighter and more. It's full palate, but lighter and just a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, it sits on top of the tongue, and the other one felt like it just kind of like it went
Even
deeper. It like deep is definitely a descriptor for like
the even the on the nose, the mystery Scotch is higher. Like it really goes up into your sinuses. Whereas the Laphroaig, like you take it in and it kind of just wants to fall down your gullet.
yep.
you know?
Yeah, once I taste the sip, you could feel it in your throat. You could taste
Yeah,
it in your.
you feel it
I'm
kind
still
of
I'm still tasting this mystery like on the sides of my throat and up higher still.
up in the roof of my mouth and the sides of my tongue. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. That's where I'm getting the mystery Scotch. Like, yep. But as far as like flavors and stuff like that, like it's just that good peaty, yummy. It's
The mint came through on the palate too.
it did. Yep. I would say more so the mystery than Laphroaig.
Yes. Yep. Well,
Um,
do you want to share what the mystery Scotch is since we've tasted them both now?
yeah, we can.
So the mystery Scotch here is going to be the Ardbeg 10. So it's kind of a direct comparison of two fairly standard peaty Scotches.
Peaty,
They're
yeah.
just down the road from each other. It's,
Yep. And the flavors, these have been the most I guess congruent flavors,
yes.
I would say.
Yep.
Highland, they were very different. The Spaysides were they had a similar undertone and similar vein with different accents. And then these are actually just quite similar, with one being a little bit lighter and the other one being heavier.
Yes. Yep.
Is kind of the Laphroaig is similar to the Ardbeg, just more so.
Oh man.
Second sip.
Second sip. I'm going in. Oh,
Mm.
is it
You get
still?
that, just that loaminess, that earthen loaminess
Yeah.
is
Coming back
just,
to it, earthy really jumped out at me too.
yep, the earthy mineral loaminess of just like really good dirt. Like, oh, so just wonderful. Hmm.
Needs to be a distillery in the UP just off Lake Superior that can make a peaty single
Make
malt just
make a
like this.
really good single malt.
Oh, that would be great.
Yep.
Oh man.
Mm. Again, it just goes up. And the second sip on the Ardbeg goes up in the palate. Um, I don't get the as much of the minerally loaminess. It's cleaner, more effervescent. Goes up. Um, where the Laphroaig is just, yeah, it's just down and rich and
Tasting these two side by side, I finally can kind of understand what the brininess is that people talk about with the Ardbeg.
okay. Yep.
I've never really like truly felt I understood it. Like I think I can, but
Hmm.
side by side, I can kind of get that. Not like heavy standing by the sea, full on salty air brininess, but
Hmm.
like just a slightly salty essence to it. Like I
Hmm.
think salt when I put it on food, it does transfer to that upper palate.
Sure.
It pulls things up. It pulls
Yep.
flavors up to the top. So
Yep.
it's kind of where I've think my brain's going with brininess with these two. I guess.
Okay, sure. I'll buy that. Yeah.
How much would you
Um,
pay for it? You'll buy it.
what's that?
If you'll
Oh,
buy it, how much would you pay for
with you, Ben, everything is free, right?
it? It's all freely given. Uh, the charge is taking it back.
Whether we want it or not.
It's yes, yes, whether you want it or not.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We got to do water. Oh, I
Water.
don't want to do this.
Don't want to do it because you don't like adding water to Scotch. Typically, but you do have a whole bottle of Laphroaig 10, or not Laphroaig 10, the Ardbeg 10.
The
So.
Ardbeg. Yep. All right.
Well, right off the bat, I don't think it did anything for the nose on either of them.
It lightened it big
Yeah,
time for me.
but not did anything. It didn't help. It didn't
It
do anything
didn't.
good.
It didn't make any distinct changes other than softening it.
Yep.
It's not the like Laphroaig when you take a hit of Laphroaig, man, it's boom, it's there in your face. It's a lot.
I don't think it was in the video, but we were talking about how we poured these earlier, and just having poured them, just walking around the area we're recording, I could smell it. I could almost taste it. It was just like palpable.
Yep, it's
Now,
palpable from 10 feet away. I can smell it, and it just it smelled so good.
yep. I know if I pour Laphroaig, my wife's not going to want to kiss me. That's
It
but it really stamped that down.
did. Yep.
Mm. Up the mintiness.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Sorry, I beat you to it.
Mm-hmm. Bastard. Um,
It's almost fresher. Like we were talking about the campfire and the earthy and the
yep.
heavy. It's almost
Yeah.
fresher with that.
It almost takes the Laphroaig into the Ardbeg territory,
Mm-hmm.
where it's still the same thing. It's just easier. It's
And,
lighter. It's
and
not like getting knee deep in the loam.
right. And so the Laphroaig is a 86 proof, and the Laphroaig or Ardbeg, good lord, I can't even talk, is that 92 proof. So
It's
it's
92. Okay.
yeah, a little bit more of a pop on the.
Okay, so it did something to the Ardbeg too. Almost like a bark
On the
on the
nose.
nose. Yeah.
I'll take a shot at that. Yeah, almost like
Because you get the acidity of like the tannin of like oak bark,
I was thinking of birch maybe.
birch, but because certain trees like their bark is got a very distinct.
The bark has bite.
Yeah. It took down the heat. That little bit of, but it brought out a pepperiness to it,
Yeah, there's definitely a barrel pepper there.
um, which is nice. That's interesting. Um, I'm surprised. I it's didn't disappoint me as much as I thought it would.
That's exactly what we're doing this, so we can find fun things
Yeah.
that surprise
Um,
us all.
yeah.
It,
The
it almost
Ardbeg
had
was
a little
just
bit of maltiness to me as well. Not a ton, just neither of
a
these really
little.
had malt forward taste to
No,
it.
not really, but I can see it added a little bit of maltiness to it. Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're
Yeah.
malty because they're single malts, but they're not predominantly
Yeah.
throwing that at us. So, well, cool.
Yeah.
God, I love both these scotches. I did pour a little heavier than I have been because I'm like, I love these. I'm just gonna
I almost
live
did.
in
Yeah.
this for a minute afterwards. Um, it scores like obviously we've both purchased these bottles before. We're both going to purchase these bottles again.
Yes. I'm gonna put Laphroaig is probably a 9. and the Ardbeg I would put at an 8.
Gotcha.
I love Laphroaig. It's just so much. It's like, yeah, it's one that you can take a sip of, and like, typically when I'm not going back and forth between tastes and stuff like that, like I can pour a glass of Laphroaig and it'll take me 3 hours to drink it.
Just nurse it, and
Yeah, like you take a sip and you just let those flavors roll forever, and it's just so good, you know. But yeah,
um, have you ever had the quarter cask from
I
Laphroaig?
have not.
You need to.
Okay.
It's so good. So quarter cask, they actually take and age it in smaller barrels.
Yep.
Um, you don't really love the oak, but it's used oak, so it's not necessarily going to transfer quite as much. But
Okay.
it ramps up quite a few of the flavors they shoot for
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
Um, yeah, every time I see a Laphroaig variant, I'm going to be chasing it. Like
Sure.
this is the baseline. This is great. Um, they did come up with a Laphroaig Select. I don't know if you've seen that. Dylan did
I
buy a
did
bottle of
see
that.
that. Yeah.
It's muted. It's not nearly as good.
Oh,
Um, it's a
that's
little
too bad.
less proof, a little lower price point. It's almost like they made a Laphroaig for mixing.
Oh yeah, they made it like a Laphroaig light.
Pretty much, yeah. So, it, like this, if you like this and you like it just a little less, try the Select. It's probably going to be great. If you like this and you want something cranked up, try the quarter cask or any of the other crazy things they're doing these
Okay.
days. So,
Sure. What's your scoring?
I'd say nines on both, honestly.
Sure.
I am definitely buying both these bottles many more times in my life.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yep.
Um, the Laphroaig, I obviously have some other bottles I'd like to get from them, but the
Yep.
Ardbeg, there's definitely more. We have one more in our
I was gonna say we have
lineup.
another Ardbeg to try, and that's yeah. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yes, that one's gonna be fun. The Ardbeg Anno is another great one. It's a little bit higher proof than the 10, but it cranks up the sweetness actually. So it's like a
Oh.
sweet,
Okay.
sweet smoky. The smoke is really honestly quite subtle, but it cranks it up the sweetness quite a bit.
Okay.
Um,
I look forward to that one.
and the Hypernova just came out, which I think we are going to probably try and buy one of these days if I can convince myself to spend 150 bucks on a bottle just for no good reason. But that's like a really, really, really smoky version for them. So,
Okay.
but yeah, definitely nines for me on these as
Sweet.
far as our scale goes.
Yeah. Yep.
So, well, do you want to look up any notes you wanted to talk about from the distilleries? I'm going to pull out the
Uh,
next two bottles here we're going to be tasting. So next one is going to be kind of a random night. We do have some that don't quite fit. This one is another Islay Scotch. It's going to be the Brooklady Bear Barley 2010. And then we also have, I'm not even going to try and say it. Not thinking straight right now. But the Japanese uh,
oh, is it the Yakizama or whatever?
Yakazamakai. I'm sure I screwed that up. But it's a 12-year single malt from Japan, which is going to be they're fully trained in the Scottish ways of making single malts when he started the company. And there's a whole long story I'm not going to get into right now, but great, great whiskeys here for next time I'm excited about. Is there anything interesting that pops up to you, Chad, on the
As far, not really. I mean, it. With Laphroaig, surprising sweetness with hints of salt and layers of peatiness. Medicinal, seaweedy. Huge smoke on the nose. And the Ardbeg. Um, they say a burst of intense smoky fruit escapes into the atmosphere with zesty lime and lemon, wrapped in waxy dark chocolate.
I can see the
Um,
citrus notes.
Bold menthol and black pepper, which I got that part.
Mm-hmm. We definitely get the
Um,
pepper on that. God, those are so good.
Smoked fish and crispy bacon. Add water and an oceanic minerality brings a breath of cool, briny sea spray.
Hey, we talked about that.
We did.
I like it when our tasting notes kind of match somewhat.
A little bit, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I think it was good.
Awesome. Well, we successfully tasted scotch for another half hour.
We did.
So that's apparently going to be the episode lengths on these.
Our episode length, yeah, half an hour episodes. There we go. Boom. We
Get
can
Dylan
do
in here.
it.
It's going to be 45 minutes and we know it.
Oh, yeah.
So, alrighty, sir. Well, thank you for joining me again. It's been a blast, and
Yep.
I can't wait to do this again.